Hello, can you hear me?
Why are you such a fucking loser? Okay, I'm just joking. I'm just joking. I'm fucking around again.
No, no, you're good. You're good.
Okay, okay.
Thank you. First of all, I just want to say thanks for actually having me on and you know letting me speak my piece. But ultimately, I agree with a lot of what you said, so there's not gonna be too much
Oh no.
contention.
You're
But
not just being
you know,
agreeable, are you? Come on.
no, no, no. I think I want to be clear that I really I had no idea really what I was getting into. Ultimately, what this video was a collection of sort of thoughts that I'd had and things that I was just feeling for a little while. And one day I just kind of decided that I wanted to cover it. And now I'm realizing that the way that it was presented and a lot of the points were rather weak. And there's some things that, while hearing other perspectives, I don't agree with. But there are things that I still absolutely do um, agree with. But,
Yeah, no,
you
no,
know,
we can get into all of that. I mean, the main thing for me, I think, because I don't judge a video by its thumbnail and title. But I thought, okay, what's this? Let's have a watch of it. You call it
sure.
YouTubers a slop problem, and then I get into it, and it seems like you're presenting that YouTubers got like a slop problem. And to me, I'm thinking, well, a problem needs to be solved, and also we need to figure out what the problem exactly is. And it just
Right.
feels like you
Right.
didn't really say what the problem was beyond, I don't personally like this type of content.
I see.
You see what
Yeah.
I mean? I mean,
No, I mean that.
anything on that or?
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, because initially, um, and this might be evident as the way it ended up turning out. Initially, I was writing a script about Moon, and that was the sort of main thing. And
Yes, I did say that in the Moon segment. It came across like you wanted to make a video on this Moon guy because that seemed to be
yeah,
the heart of what you were doing.
yeah.
Okay, right.
Ultimately, I have, and you had a good point about not really showing much evidence. I have um, a pretty decent amount, but I haven't like really started production. It's been a video that I've wanted to make for a while, but I kind of wanted to test run it in a sense because it felt like a very risky video to make, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Um,
Look, I don't normally like to suck my own dick, but I was 100% correct then because that's exactly what it
yeah, no,
seemed like in the Moon segment.
you're on it.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So, okay. So that's
But
interesting though, because it's like, you're worried about making this video, so you kind of dress it up in a way that you think is going to be more palatable to the audience.
sure, yeah,
Do you not feel? I mean, I'm not saying that you're producing slop yourself, but that to me is a hallmark of like some of these creators. They're putting stuff out that's palatable to their audience, and it feels like you're kind of doing that with this video.
I see what you mean. I personally, the way that I saw it was to just kind of give a criticism that was on my mind, and I didn't particularly make it to be like, oh, this is gonna be the most easy, palatable to watch thing, but um, I do understand that argument. I personally don't feel as though, at least with my own intention, that was the case. But
Right. Okay.
um, I understand what you're saying.
So why didn't you? Was it literally just a concern about? Sorry, when you say it's risky, what do you mean by risky? What risks are you thinking of there?
So, ironically, the risks that I was considering from the moon video itself are exactly what this video ended up producing. And so I was kind of right, and those risks were really just kind of a step into a spotlight that I am pretty unfamiliar with, and in retrospect, it makes sense how we got here, but I really was not expecting this video to do well or to really be considered by that many people. And so that was my concern with the moon video, or just that as a project really felt as though something that would make a lot of people upset and definitely lead to some semblance of drama, which again, it's
I
kind
mean,
of
I feel, look, I've got to be honest with you, mate. I feel like this is cope. It's like you put Turkey Tom, Moist Critical, Mutahar, like all these people. I mean, I'd say more so like Turkey Tom is someone who's got
mhm,
like quite a motivated, engaged audience. I feel like you put
Yeah.
them on the thumbnail, and then you're like, oh, how is this? I'm surprised this caused drama. Like, you're provoking the drama by including these massive YouTubers on your thumbnail, and it's likely to elicit and draw their attention, no?
I mean, on the note of Turkey Tom specifically, he is someone who is very prideful in the label of slop. On his not, and to be clear, I was talking about like Tom Dark and the live channel. Um, but it's not really something that I really felt was this kind of like breaking like attack on him. It's just kind of something that him and also Pyro and a lot of these people do. And it's like, yeah, I'm making slop. So yeah, I didn't really feel like there's too much of an inherent risk since that is part of their brand identity on
Okay,
these.
you've got okay, bro. Okay. I just feel like you've massively underestimated that then, because the thumbnail is them, and
Definitely,
this is
definitely.
slop. And
Yeah.
but it's like, yeah, that would be seen by a lot of people as negative, and I'm sure Turkey Tom would probably take it in good natured, and would probably have an issue with the arguments you made. I don't know what his take on it is, but that would be his
Yeah. Yeah.
position. But obviously, you are going to get a lot of people that are just mad at you because you're having to go at Turkey Tom, right?
Yeah. And I certainly have. And to me, ultimately, I am heavily considering just privating the video as a whole because I don't feel too confident. I think, a lot of the points that I made, I can concede now. And not that I think I was completely wrong with everything, but I think that the way that it presented was not in the best way. And I don't want my sort of, you know, standing to be someone who makes shitty points, or at least presents
Okay,
points
well,
in a.
I guess what for you has kind of tipped it over to the thought process of I don't want this video like publicized or out there anymore.
Well, ultimately, it's a matter of having more viewpoints and a lot more input from people who have kind of just changed my mind and poked a lot of holes in something that, in the moment, I felt was a pretty decent project. And ultimately, I come from it from the angle of like I kind of, I want to admit when I'm wrong about something or admit that I may not have done something in the best way. And honestly, I really do not want to be highlighted. I kind of have just been doing my own thing for a while, and I'm happy with that. And ultimately, this was a decision that would go directly against that, and I'm realizing that now. But that's kind of the main point.
Yeah, I guess for me it's like, how did this disconnect happen where you're looking at something and you're going, that's an absolute banger. Like, did you part, and then it goes on to like, you get these criticisms, which I think a lot of YouTubers, I think, would have pointed out to you if they'd have seen it. Like, did you not
Yeah, most
share this
likely.
with anyone? Did you not say, oh, can you look at my video and see what you think? Did you not do any sort of testing or speak to anyone that you know about this or?
Not really. So basically, I showed it to my family, and I ran through the talking points with my kind of close knit YouTuber buddies,
Okay.
and I got their input, and they were all like, "Yeah, man, sounds great." But that's really it. There wasn't like an extensive. I didn't, go out and show people the finished project, as it was done, which again is definitely something that should have been done, but you know,
Oh,
can't
so you
really.
just kind of explain the concept to people and in a more vague way, or talked about maybe some specifics, but they didn't see the product itself. Is that right?
Yeah, no, they didn't see the finished product. They just kind of heard the talking points and I wouldn't really say in a vague way. I feel like I was pretty
Oh,
descriptive,
you're quite
but
specific. Okay, fair enough. Okay.
yeah, but it is different when someone's telling you about something and it's a finished product, and I can totally acknowledge that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I don't know. It's like it was quite. I felt like it was quite incoherent, and you tried to like label too much stuff as slop. So then at the end, when you're summarizing, you're saying, well, slop doesn't need any personality. And I'm thinking, like, well, some slop that you've described does need personality because in order
Right.
to stream, you need a personality. Like, I would agree with you if you're talking about, like, saying AI channel, obviously that needs no personality or
Yeah,
something like that,
definitely.
right? So, like, do you feel that maybe the definition was too broad for you then in terms of the video?
Yeah, honestly, that's actually one of the biggest points that I've kind of seen and that I am kind of now walking back. And I don't want to seem spineless. I genuinely am taking the criticism
You're
and
not reading chat,
think
are you? Don't read chat, whatever you
what?
do.
I'm
Don't
not
read.
reading chat. No,
Okay,
I feel like
good.
it's gonna throw me off if I
Good, good,
do.
good,
Are
good.
they
Okay.
being mean?
Don't worry about that, okay?
Oh, um,
No, the
but
thing to bear
yeah,
in mind with this is my chat is obviously people that watch me, that watch a lot of slop. Okay, they're all little piggies. Okay, so don't worry about them. But anyway, um,
gotcha. Gotcha. Now
so
my
yeah,
shoe is in here, and Nicholas Dior. That's crazy.
yeah, of
Hi
course,
guys,
yeah.
I like your stuff quite a lot. Long time fan, but regardless, I think there if there's something I could change, it would definitely be more of a distinction. And I kind of wish that I'd come up with different um sort of incarnations or levels of, quote unquote slop, rather than just kind of saying it's all one thing. Because I'm seeing now that clearly it isn't, and the streaming point is it's a great point. I do maintain that not all, obviously, but I think some commentary channels that I've seen don't have too much of a personality, and they're just kind of quick to topics, which is why I can assume they have, an
Oh yeah, yeah, no,
audience.
no. The thing is, if you'd have made that point and said, these particular types of channels, gameplay or AI voices, or not without naming any names, but
Mhm.
just talking about daily topics, and it's like
Yeah,
interchangeable almost. Yeah, sure, maybe there's a point to be made there.
because
Um,
ultimately that is the point that was being made, but but not actually. Like, you know what I mean? That's what
so
my yeah.
there's the bones of a video in there. I think your video, there's a concept there that could work, and I
There's
think
certainly
right?
yeah.
I
Yeah.
think, I mean, and it's not about me saying, oh, this is what the next video should be, because obviously that's for you to decide. But I think there are good points to make, like misinformation, rushing to a story and not researching it properly. Um, you know, in the pursuit of putting out multiple videos, not letting the story sit for like an extra few hours and something coming out that could have changed it, maybe could be an argument. But the point is, there's things in there that you can talk about,
Yeah,
but
no, definitely. And there are
kind of
things
went.
that, and now in retrospect, I only brush on when now I'm realizing, oh shit, that should have been the main focus. Um, so, if I could have gone back and changed this video, I certainly would have, in that way. Um, and I honestly, I see it as a lesson. I know a lot of people hate my guts now, but I really wasn't trying to attack people. Um, it's a criticism of content, but not in a personal way. I think that also should just be made clear.
Yeah, I mean that's the other thing as well is maybe this is a product of now you're fleshing out a bit and it wasn't meant to be like this, and you're saying you maybe should have focused on other aspects, but it just seems so wild to me that you had like people there who there are dramas you could talk about where they've got stuff wrong out of a rush to get a story out, like a Cheeto got the Sniper Wolf story wrong and then argued a toss about it with Lyrics, another creator
Right.
you spoke about, and it's like, did you do any research before speaking to them to find out things you could talk about?
So I'm going to be completely honest. I went to reach out to them because they're people who had met prior, at VidCon, so I was already somewhat familiar with them. I didn't do a bunch of background checking on their prior controversies. I just
Okay,
kind of knew,
let me get this straight. You didn't do any research on them before you spoke to them, is that right?
not particularly. No, I looked up like
Okay, and you're
vague.
criticizing other people for putting slop out. Is that right?
Yes, yeah, yeah.
That's crazy, dude. I'm trying to be nice about this, okay? But that's fucking insane and massively
Oh no,
hypocritical,
I
bro.
understand. I understand.
I mean, okay. Using personal connections to get a juicy interview and not looking into stuff to talk about. I don't want to hammer the point home, but holy fuck, dude, that is insane to me.
No,
Um,
yeah, I get that. I also, one of the points that you made is it was too kind of nice, I suppose. My main intent in talking to them was really to just get the other perspective, um, from people who do produce the kind of content that I'm criticizing, not particularly to hammer in on they themselves individually. Which clearly, seeing the people that I chose, it wasn't maybe the best idea. But that
Well,
was
the thing is,
the
I've
initial.
got no personal ill will towards Sensitive Society or a Cheeto. Like, I got no personal issue with them. I just know that they've done things which, are worth pressing them on if you're talking about slop content, because they
Yeah,
have, in my opinion, made mistakes, which is, and it's just, I don't want to fucking hammer you on this point, but fuck me, dude, that is insane, bro.
no,
Um,
I completely understand what you're saying.
yeah, okay, dude, okay. Well, that's fine. You've accepted that and you've agreed with a lot of the points. that I've made. I mean, I don't really think we need to hash out each point that I've made that's correct and you agree on now.
No,
It seems,
that's yeah.
what I am interested in though is kind of throwing it over to you.
Sure.
And like, what points did I make? Because I think you highlighted that maybe there's some stuff you disagree with or still stand by. Like maybe we can go through that.
Yeah, sure. I kind of wanted to more so clarify my point on the Schoolboy Nine stuff.
Okay, sure,
As I feel
sure.
it may have been a little misconstrued. Um, and the point I make in the video, again, it's my personal opinion, and I made that clear in the video too. This isn't like an objective fact, but
Mm,
the way that I've been seeing it, is that not, and I saw a lot of people in chat too were saying like, oh, so dark humor is not allowed. That's not my argument. That's never been my argument. Um, for me, I feel it's dangerous when people sort of start to treat people who are as disturbed as Smart Schoolboy Nine in a way that is kind of lighthearted, in a way that's like kind of more, what's the word, digestible to a young audience. Because there's like a disturbing amount of children making TikToks about this guy, and to me, given his nature, and also given the fact that part of his like fetish is to be known as like this disgusting creep, um, to me that feels like a bad way of going about things, and I feel as though generally people should be a little more, I don't know if the word is respectful, but just kind of mindful about the way that they present someone when they're as sort of dangerous as someone like Smart Schoolboy Nine.
yeah. See, the difficulty is for me is you're just saying that you feel that way about it, and then my
Right, and
response to
that's
that
what I
can
say in the
be,
video.
well, I feel
Well, it's
differently.
just,
So it's like a difference of opinion then. Whereas you were
yeah,
trying to
it definitely
suggest,
is.
you were trying to suggest in the video, I feel that there was some sort of danger to children that would come about as a result of this. And if that's your feeling, then that's fine. But I'm just like, well, is there any actual evidence or proof to back up this idea that a couple of memes or lots of memes on the internet about Smart School 9 will put children in harm's way? Or is it literally just the way you feel about it?
Well, there was a video of a group of, God, it must have been like 12-year-olds or something like that, quote unquote,
Mm.
out on the hunt. There's footage of another like teenager smashing an alleged window, and that's another issue too, is maybe the false information that has spread from that case as well. But at least from that, the fact that children are trying to search him out, and I've seen a lot of kids try to message him. If you go on the Smart Schoolboy 9 Reddit, a lot of the posts are clearly made by young children. And that to me does feel kind of dangerous because kids are, at least, not a ton of kids, but some kids are going out of their way to try and sort of bust this guy. And they don't know what they're doing, and to me that feels like it's pretty dangerous.
Well, I think that to suggest that people online ought to limit their behavior to prevent that, I just think that if you're concerned about kids' behavior, that falls squarely with the parents, and the parents are the ones that are allowing that to happen by letting them have accounts too young and so on. So,
Yeah, very true.
I just think that it just seems crazy to me that people need to limit their online behavior. I mean, in some circumstances, maybe there's an argument you could make for that, but I think in this case, people predominantly, I think in America, making jokes and memes about this, I don't think it's having any substantial impact on kids there. And any child that is trying to make contact would fall under the remit of the parent rather than the
Yeah,
people that are making jokes about it, you know?
ultimately I think the parent is the one that makes it all happen, but
It just,
the
what it feels like is it feels like it just makes you uncomfortable when you don't like it, which is fine. But you're trying
yeah,
to
yeah, I
argue
mean that's
but then you're trying to
true, but I
argue
think
people should moderate their behavior on the back of your feelings on something rather than good evidence that that hurts children.
I think more so the argument is that not that people should particularly like moderate their feelings to consider all these things about the kids, but I feel as though there are certain things that, certain posts and memes that are kind of, and of course, it's not like I'm trying to police humor. This is obviously just my opinion. Um, but they feel as though they're kind of making too much light of the situation and not really presenting the person as the danger that they are. Um, and to me, that does feel like there's some danger in that.
Hmm. Yeah, I guess, yeah. and if you could, like, if someone said to me, right, Chud, you've made jokes about Smart Schoolboy 9, he has conclusive evidence that these children have been molested as a result of that. I mean, obviously, I'd have to, consider that more strongly because I'm like,
Yeah.
well, yeah, that's a much more direct link that you can make. Or if there was some research that showed that attitudes to this kind of behavior online puts children in harm's way, then that's worthy of some consideration. But
Mhm.
it's just the way you feel about it, and it's like, okay, well, I don't really care about your feelings, to be honest.
Yeah, no,
To be
yeah,
blunt, but and I find it hard to argue. Like, this is just what happens. This is part of the human condition. We have gallows humor and black humor. There were jokes about Epstein, Michael Jackson was not proven, I guess, but Michael Jackson. All sorts of pedophiles, actual
yeah,
full-blown pedophiles that have molested kids, get jokes made about them, and I just think there's some aspect of us that finds some relief from the horrors of life in making jokes about it. And
definitely. I think there's a lot of value in that in its own right as well. Um, it's I don't disagree with that, but it's always been in kind of a different sort of. I feel like at least I haven't been alive for too long, but at least from what I've been able to kind of tell, it seems as though in the past there wasn't as much direct involvement from young children regarding these sort of people. Like a kid couldn't just message Epstein or Michael Jackson or something like that. You know what I mean? Like there's a very direct involvement that kids can have to these people. And again, yeah, it's the parents' fault, but kids are going to do this regardless. And you know, we can place blame. I don't personally blame the kids, nor do I really blame the creators necessarily, but I do think that one kind of leads to another.
um, yeah, I just think that I couldn't bring myself to try and limit the behavior of a creator because a child might do something. As long as they're not directly, specifically broadcasting to the children, or their content isn't
Right.
geared around children. Like if someone was doing kids content and then they did a jovial video about Smart Schoolboy 9, I'd probably have a problem with that, right? But if
Right. I
someone's
feel like that's
content,
pretty universally reprehensible. Yeah.
yeah, but if someone's like just does kind of edgy content or content about internet drama and they make a video having a bit of a laugh about Smart Schoolboy 9, because I'm sure you agree some of that material is ridiculously, absurdly hilarious.
Oh
It
yeah.
always
I mean, I
is,
say it
right?
in the video. It is kind of objectively funny. And again, I don't think that we shouldn't joke about it. Um, that's
It
not
just
the
gets to
point
a
being.
point where you feel personally uncomfortable with it and you worry that it might cause some harm. That's what I think you're saying. Is that right?
Essentially, yeah. I
Okay.
I mean, a lot of my sort of and I that point is made because of the actions that already have been taken from kids. It's not just like I'm oh, this could happen. Like it's not directly. There's no proof of the kid seeing a meme and being like, all right, I'm gonna go find this guy and message him. But how did these kids learn about it? We don't know that, but it's safer to assume that they were watching like more short form, like TikToks or something like that, rather than sitting through a 40-minute Nick Crowley video. But that could just be my perspective.
Yeah, we don't need
But
to kind of, argue the toss over this endlessly. I think, I
no, yeah,
hear it.
I just wanted to make my point clear. I'm not trying
Okay.
to like debate it or anything. Just
Yeah, sure. Was there anything in particular that I said that you took issue with or had disagreement with? And be honest. I'm happy to hash out any disagreements. And if you make a point that I think is really valid, I'm happy to concede if I've really said something wrong or really misunderstood what you're saying.
yeah, no, for sure. I also only made it like halfway into the video, or into your stream, so I don't know what the first half of criticism was, but I mean, if there's anything else that you were really thinking about from the first half of the video, please feel free to let me know.
No,
Um,
sure. I actually always mean to make notes, but I never do because I'm just a lazy slop tuber. But let me let me see if there was anything else. Just
sure.
skimming through the timeline that maybe is worth bringing
Yeah,
up.
yeah. Go.
Um, but
Let me
yeah,
start off
no,
by saying,
I think this does have the bones of being something. I think Nicholas Diorio, you know Nicholas Diorio, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think his criticism of your video is the other one that I saw that I think is best because, you know, I've seen people obviously chat is being quite mean. That's just chat. But I have seen people also beyond that talking about how you're like other lefty figures or something that they've hated before, like in Praise of Shadows and stuff.
I've heard that. That's the worst thing people have said, man. That's the worst.
Okay.
That's
I
the
don't
worst criticism I've received. People
that
said some
yeah.
real fucked up shit, but that's the worst one.
Yeah, I feel like you know, that's stupid. I don't think it's that level personally.
Yeah,
Um,
I would hope so.
and you seem like a quite a good-natured guy. I don't think obviously you think you kind of stepped on a bit of a landmine and didn't know what was going to blow up off of this.
That's
So,
definitely the case. Yeah, I think that that kind of is the way, and not to like paint myself as some angel or anything, but I really, I was not coming at this to like attack people. It definitely is a criticism, but one that I feel I prefaced with enough respect, that it didn't come off as that. But clearly that isn't the case. And I'm happy to have had this experience and to be able to learn going forward, um, for the way that I present this sort of stuff. Because, I don't know if I'm ever gonna make a video about sort of modern internet drama ever again. Um, my content is just kind of whatever I want to see. So it's very all over the place. But yeah, no, I would have to agree with Nick. I think ultimately, if I were to, and I don't think I'm going to do this, but if I were to like private this one and then restructure and kind of rebuild what I did have and the points that did stand, it would end up coming out a better product. But you know, I'm not sure I'm doing that.
so you basically just well, you're gonna so your plan is to private this and just write the whole thing off. Is that right?
Well, I want to release some form of statement. I want to concede. I don't want to just like pretend it never happened because that feels cowardly. But at the same time, I also don't want to have something that kind of misrepresents or is a sort of lower quality product on my part.
I mean, my slot brain is thinking, why not just do another video addressing the criticisms and just saying, hey, here's what I concede on. Or is it that it's so like you are so disagreeing with your video now that you don't want it up at all? It's completely it's basically full of holes to the point of not being worthwhile anymore.
Yeah, I've never been in this community before. I've never experienced what it's like. I genuinely just don't really think I have the heart for it. And so, I don't really want to fight with anybody is the thing.
Oh my god, dude, you're such a pussy. What's going on? Fight! Even if
Come
I
on
think
now,
you're
come on.
wrong.
I don't really feel it's worth it. Um,
Oh my god, dude.
Especially when people have made good points. I'm not trying to weasel out of it, but I don't know. Can you at least see some sort of respect in a admission of, um, I don't know,
Well,
criticism?
I mean, it's difficult, obviously, right? The chat
Yeah,
wants blood, okay? There's some
sure.
stuff you
Yeah,
said that's angered me and I think is outrageous, right? But it's
as
like you're immediately conceding on it, so it makes it difficult for me to really say much more than, well, yep, you were really wrong to do that, and that's it. So I don't know. It's like I kind of want to have a go at you more, but with you being so, you know, it's difficult. It's not as
no,
good for the blood
I
sports
understand.
content, you know.
I'm not here for blood sports is the thing. My next video is about themed restaurants and how fun they were. It's like I have gotten myself into something that is just not what my uh niche is. And that's obviously I'm not trying to.
But the other problem I've got as well, I guess, is like I don't I
Sure.
hate the idea that you're conceding just because people are shitting on you and having a go at you, right? It's like is it just because you don't like the heat, or do you genuinely think, okay, I've had some things pointed out to me that I think I was wrong on, and I need to concede that?
Yeah, no, that the latter is absolutely what the case is. Um, if I felt as though I was 100% right, I don't think I would even come on to have a discussion about it because ultimately I feel as though really good points have been made. There were missteps along my way, and that's something that it's kind of an L that I just need to take. I feel as though it's not really worth it to go down fighting, because ultimately I think there are too many holes to really have a very concise point to make, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, sure. I mean, to answer your question, you did ask me a question there. I think it's great to say I was wrong about this thing, you know. Um, I guess the thing that's just crazy for me is the fact it became a fully edited, scripted video was released, only for it to get criticism, and you go, "Oh, I was wrong about all of this, so I need to delete the video." That's just a crazy concept to me.
No, I see what you mean. Yeah, yeah,
But then I think, for me as someone that all my content is stream content. I don't do any edited content, so it's
right,
like all the feedback is live. I say something that's retarded, and chat will tell me, and I have to go, okay, that was stupid. I was wrong about that. Or I like pause your video and make a point and criticize you for it, and then the next second you say it when I hit play, I've got to take the L for that because it's happening there and then.
right,
You
right.
know.
Yeah, no, I see what you mean.
Um. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just a different thing, but I don't know. I don't want to speak ill of your friends, but I just feel like there should have been someone there that should have looked over this and gone, okay, mate, I think there's a good video here, but here's my problems with this, or
Yeah,
something like that. Or maybe saying, listen, those commentary guys can be pretty vicious. So you need to be careful to make sure you cross your T's and dotted your I's, because otherwise they're
yeah,
gonna go crazy. I don't know.
definitely, definitely. I listen. I fully agree with that. Yeah,
Um. Okay. Well, anyway, people are saying Nick should call in, but I think Nicholas is at work at the moment. What I will
yeah,
do, I always like to do this, if it's okay with you. Um,
sure.
I like to throw just questions out to chat so that if they feel I've missed anything, they can pick up the slack for me, and I can put the question to you, and you can
Yeah,
answer it.
no,
Have you got like a
sure.
bit of time for that?
That
Okay.
sounds good.
Okay, so go ahead, chat. Ask any question you wish to Raimundo in regards to this video. Please don't ask too silly things, okay? Okay, so I've got the first question here. So I'm being asked to ask you, how is it you think that, well, do you think, based on the video, it seemed like you thought that 2016 commentary was more high effort? Is that the case?
No, I do not think so. I think that
Okay.
there, what did I, was there something I said that kind of made it seem like that way? I think it was, the point that I was making was that it was a lot smaller, like it had less reach. Um, and it was more self-contained, but that's kind of it. I was never a fan of 2016 commentary. I never have been. I was pretty adamantly against like Leafy and all that stuff back in the day.
Is that because you're soy?
I wouldn't say so. No.
Okay. What, I mean, I mean, this is a sort of an aside, but where do you like align yourself on the political spectrum?
That's a good question. I don't really. So I think I heard a lot of people saying I was a leftist. I'm not. This is the thing. I definitely lean left on some issues, but ultimately I'm not like
What do you think of
a
blacks?
very cool. What's that?
What do you think of blacks?
Oh, I love them. They're great.
Okay. Okay. Um, what would be
That's a good question, though.
what would be your response if people were to call your content slop?
So that honestly is something. Now, I just want to clarify. Is that referring to the video that I made about the slop con, or just
Yeah,
my
yeah,
stuff
yeah.
in general?
If your video about slop, someone said of your video slop. How would you feel about that?
So honestly, I've gotten that comment a lot, and I feel as though it's an interesting. It's kind of a nuanced thing, because as the person who created it, um, I know the sort of time and intent that went into making it. Um, but at the same time, and therefore I do not consider it slop. But at the same time, as an outside, or not an outsider, but someone who is just a viewer looking in, you actually made a good point regarding the Cheeto thing. It's kind of contradicts itself in that sense, not asking the harder questions. That's an argument I can totally understand. Um, I don't personally agree with it, but I wouldn't sort of go out of my way to, you know, try to disprove somebody. Now, in regards to my other stuff, I absolutely would, as though I feel that has more weight and more of a, what's the word? I mean, I think it's just better generally, but yeah, that's how I feel on that.
Okay. Um, Iden Paladin is asking here, how is YouTube slop covering current events any different from the news?
That's a good question. I mean, it's. I think the difference, personally, in my opinion, is that while the news gets a ton of shit wrong, I'm not a fan of mainstream media at all. Um, I think the difference is that with YouTube commentary, people can just kind of like, there's very little fact checking with some people, some of the bigger ones. And I don't want to be aggressive and like name names and stuff, but there's a lot of people who just kind of get shit wrong. And again, not that the news doesn't do that, but the fact that there can just be, some guy who reads some tweets about something and immediately builds a narrative and throws out a video within the first 4 hours of a controversy. I think that's the difference, because there isn't really a level of um, intricacy to it, and
Yeah.
there, I'm sure, I don't know
Well,
how like the news cycle
I think
works.
the difference is that the news organizations, and some of my chat are going to hate me for this take because they fucking hate the mainstream media because they're retarded, okay? I get it. The
Yeah,
mainstream media gets stuff wrong, okay? I agree with that. But fundamentally, there is some sort of oversight and some sort of journalistic standards they're supposed to adhere to, okay?
right,
Also, they've got
exactly.
big teams of people that can research stories and look at stuff and they can verify that things are correct. And YouTubers don't have any of that framework, so they can more or less do whatever they want as long as it's in TOS. And
Exactly.
lying about someone isn't against the TOS, and there's no standards you have to adhere to do that. There is obviously legal aspects, but there's less framework in place. Um,
Hmm.
and yeah, I think that creates a situation where all that you're left with is your own sense of moral compass to
Right.
actually do stuff right, fact check, verify. And also, it goes against the financial incentive because putting out a slop video in 2 hours about the latest drama is going to get way more views than spending the extra time researching and making sure
Yeah.
your T's are crossed and I's are dotted, right?
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I think a good comparison, honestly, I think that the way that you look at children's content on YouTube and children's media on television is also kind of a good like way to compare it, where it's kind of the Wild West on here, whereas something like, children's media, there are a lot of things they need to adhere to. It's it feels like kind of the same thing, honestly. Um, but yeah, so that's what I think. I think there's definitely quite the difference. But ultimately they do operate in a somewhat similar way.
So yeah, I mean, there's more questions here. So one thing that keeps cropping up
Yeah,
is the lyrics interview. You spoke to lyrics yesterday. What
yeah,
happened? What
yeah.
happened there? I didn't know. I watched it.
Oh, yeah. Basically, I'll recount it as honestly as I can.
Okay.
That I got a lot of shit for, but
Okay.
essentially, there's a clip when I'm talking about commentary drama channels of Lyric's channel, and I don't mention him by name, but it's just it's there. And he was watching my video on stream and took an issue with it, so he DM'd me on Twitter asking if I could come on stream and just talk about my thoughts on slop content. So I, in all honesty, I was coming into it with the angle of just kind of having a conversation about the video, but it kind of quickly became a debate that I was not prepared for in the slightest, and I was really nervous because the chat was being really
Oh, so you
mean.
learned from that. Don't look at chat. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah, no, it was they were definitely throwing me off, but
That's rough.
ultimately, again, this is my first time doing this shit. I don't know what's going on. Um, I'm slowly learning, but it is what it is.
That makes sense as well
Essentially,
because people are coming in and they're like really angry with you, and I'm having like a
yeah,
perfectly
yeah,
reasonable conversation. And obviously, it's because they're pissed off with you because of the way, presumably, you acted in the lyrics interview. So sorry, continue,
yeah.
please.
I honestly, I don't think I acted that reprehensibly in that. But essentially, if I and just as recounting my memory, I might be missing something, but I don't think I am. Lyrics asked why his channel was included, and I was like, just kind of, my argument is that it fit into what I was talking about. And then he's like, "What, you included me in the part where it's saying that they do no research, which wasn't true. He was mistaken about that. And essentially, we talked about that, and he was like,
Well, hang on,
so
no,
why?
sorry. I don't want to argue with your recap, but I vividly remember you were talking about channels that don't do research, and Lyric's channel was on the screen. No,
Is that right?
I'm fairly
I'm just
certain that
video.
that's the
Okay, shit.
case.
If that's the case, then I don't, because there was definitely a lot of asset reuse. The main part where I included him, like, to make a point, was when I was talking about commentary drama, and in the stream last night, the part didn't come up.
So yeah, so okay,
But
right. Here's
if
the
that's the
problem.
case,
So
that's a
sorry,
major
look,
oversight of mine.
listen. It feels very annoying that I'm like pointing this out, and you're like, oh yeah, maybe that is the case, and it's like, it's just because I'm saying it, or do you agree that that is the case?
I don't remember. If you can go back to the video and find exactly that, then yeah, it's true. But I'm recounting the stream, which is really the main thing on my mind. When he went to that part, his channel, or at least maybe he went to the wrong part that I mentioned it. But essentially he was asking, what about my channel don't you like? And it's something that, and I also just want to be clear. I realize how every word really matters here. I kind of realized that in the moment. So I was being very charitable and just kind of trying to share my opinion, just about drama commentary in general.
You were
And I
eaten
made the
alive
point.
by Lyric's chat and Lyrics from the sounds of it.
Oh my God, yeah, it was brutal. It was brutal. People were being really racist. It was
Why were they being racist?
they were
What?
like, deport this Mexican. I don't know. There was a lot.
That's
Uh,
crazy. I mean,
just
just to be clear, there's been a few comments about border hopping and stuff. Okay, I have
yeah,
not fucking, I've not thought anything about your race myself, but
yeah.
clearly
No,
there's some sort of narrative that you're, you know, I don't know, but that's crazy.
I was born and raised in New York City. I'm all good. Listen.
Why
But
is everyone saying that then?
I don't know. My name is Hispanic. And I'm a Hispanic man, so it's
Oh, I
just kind of
see. Okay, so they
yeah,
assumed they see a Hispanic man and they think, well, that's obviously some sort of illegal alien. Fucking hell, that is very
exactly, yeah.
racist.
So I
I
was
mean,
seeing all these
listen,
comments, and I wasn't
that's
like
terrible.
like really hurt by it, but I was shocked. I was definitely kind of I was really on edge. So I had a hard time answering his questions, and he moved to a lot of different um talking points, and I was trailing behind. And yeah, so an example that people are bringing up, which I just kind of want to clarify more, is the Boblax drama.
The Bo Blacks take, yep. Okay, go on.
So yeah, I saw that a lot in your chat, and people were saying it a lot. To be clear, I am not like my main extent to interacting with these people is just kind of saying hi at VidCon. Um, sorry, the thing is that the Boblax video on Lyrics' second channel was the one that was like watched through in the video. So clearly I'd seen it. That's the one that I kind of watched because I was trying to keep up because I always kind of got bad vibes from the Boblax sort of Twitter versus stuff. Not bad vibes. I just wasn't a fan of it. Um,
Well, could it be classified as slop by
I would
your
say
view?
so. I feel like
Okay.
it's a different type, but I don't know. Um,
Anyway,
but
sorry, go on.
yeah, no. Essentially, he was, oh, you watched that video, and well, no, sorry. Another point he made. Um, I mentioned that I feel as though, and this is a take that no one here is gonna like, but I feel as though a lot of this sort of stuff is kind of unnecessary, and that essentially a lot of my own personal problems with it stem from that. I feel as though a lot of the discourse can be very toxic and bad faith. And so we started talking about the Boblax thing,
Well,
which
hold
I don't
on.
know. I
Sorry,
just
sorry, 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 sorry. I don't want to be a stickler too much on this, right? I understand
no,
you
no,
don't want the
you're good.
toxicity, but when you say bad faith, to me, there is a more casual definition, but that normally means someone is saying something they don't truly believe for the sake of winning an argument. Um, Is that what you mean, or do you mean just like what do you mean by bad faith? I guess is what I'm getting at.
I mean, not particularly, because it's kind of not a subjective term, but I think my main sort of thing is that a lot of it doesn't try to paint a lot of these people in a light that's even slightly understandable. And not that most of them should. A lot of people have done some really fucked up stuff, and it's I think it's perfectly reasonable to fully go at them. Um, but I feel like a lot of it is uncharitable, I suppose. Um, and again, and with the misinformation stuff, I feel a lot of it is also bad faith, because there's lies being made about people, and they're not even really given a chance to defend
Okay,
themselves.
so I guess the question would be, what lies do you feel that Lyric's told in regards to Bo Blacks that you don't like?
So that's the thing. That's my biggest, like, failing point here, is that I wasn't directly referring to Lyric's video about Bo Blacks. I use it as an example of how the community kind of just will attack anybody. Because from my point of view, and this could be very mistaken, but from my point of view, he seemed to be friends with, like, just about everybody. And then, like, in the
Hmm.
matter of a week, everyone he seemed to be very close with is completely tearing him to shreds in a way that to me felt very out of left field. Um, and I was familiar with enough of the controversy. I know he faked having BPD and was just kind of narcissistic and self-aggrandizing and that sort of thing. And I saw parts of the Augie uh, commentary aids, I think it was, live stream video.
Yeah.
Um, but I suppose I was caught up with older information.
So okay, I could just address this because I can
Sure.
absolutely see how from the outside looking in, and at times I've personally got bored with the coverage because it seems like I don't really care about this that much. I've covered the main
Yeah.
bits and I'm going to move on, right? But I think the problem comes in for me where there's always this contradictory standard that the commentary community is held to, and it's simultaneously you're defending your own, but then also you're cannibalistic and you'll feed on each other at a given opportunity. And it's
Right.
like, Bo Blacks, I would probably agree, did get too much grace over the past few years from people. That is a hindsight perspective, but I think that's the case. But then when
Yeah.
it got to a point where these issues were unbearable for people, and it got to a point where it was felt like he could no longer be supported in that way, at that point people started to cut ties. And yes,
Hmm.
of course, there is a kind of, I guess, piranha type thing. People get fed on. I've made a bunch of videos about it. But I think this is a very much a product of the ecosystem of the platform rather than personal thing. For Lyrics,
Yeah.
maybe it was a bit personal because he had this call recorded and it was leaked. But certainly for me, I've always been fairly neutral towards Bo Blacks. And I just saw an opportunity to turn out a bunch of slop about the Bo Blacks situation, and I did. So
Hmm.
I think there's a contradictory standard that's upheld by a lot of people. Simultaneously you look after your own, but then criticize when people get kicked out of the clubhouse, so to speak, because they've done something really wrong
Right.
or bad. But then also there's a dynamic where I think people are just trying to make content out of it, and it feels like you've watched maybe a few videos about it and come to a conclusion. Maybe you would have
Yeah.
that conclusion if you looked at all of it, but I think when you look at all of it, it becomes much clearer what's happened, and maybe you might have a different perspective.
Yeah. Sorry. I certainly agree with that. From the perspective I was given, that's certainly what it felt like. Especially, just to reiterate, um, as someone who's not involved, I only see the human to human aspect of it. Like, the only times I've really seen this happening is when these guys are hanging out and drinking together and having a good time with each other, and then, like, 2 months later, the guy that was, like, pretty well beloved is hated by everybody. And again, I didn't. I was keeping up with the drama to an extent, but then it just felt like it wasn't something that I really wanted to focus on my own energy with. But yeah, it's just, it really is, it's an interesting thing to see, because I don't know what the personal input is, in a sense, right? I don't know what people's intent is. But I mean, I'm sure you could understand why it would kind of seem like turning on someone who is a friend would seem a little like, I don't know, not off. And I don't think it's bad faith
Well,
particularly, but
I
like,
think there's the concept of, oh, a friend is turning on a friend. Yeah, I can understand why someone looks at that and goes, oh my God, I can't believe that's happened. But I
yeah,
think, first of all, we've got to determine, well, who is actually friends with Bo Blacks? I mean, I
yeah,
was never like friends with Bo Blacks. We barely spoke.
hmm,
So me making loads of content about him is not necessarily indicative of like turning on a friend. I think Nicholas,
right,
you would say, is a friend, right? And he was a friend of Bo Black's. But I think when you look at the full context of what's happened, I don't think Nicholas is free from criticism. I think there's definitely fair critiques you can make of Nicholas's actions. But I just think
sure,
that pales in comparison to, the sheer weight of issues that Bo Blacks was putting upon him privately for the past few months.
hmm,
When you look at the DMs and you go over all of it, it's very clear that Bo Blacks has like had some sort of mental break. You could say it's not nice, it's not pleasant that someone is obviously having these mental issues and is having to deal with this as well. But I think you live and die by honesty and integrity in this industry in that respect. And he was demonstrably telling lies about things and misrepresenting
right.
things to people in private. So, I think that's why that became not sustainable and that couldn't be maintained anymore,
I understand. Yeah, I think honestly, and to add to that point, um, something else that was just kind of an observation of mine was that it kind of, in a sense, did feel, again, I'm not too fond of this guy. I've talked my fair share of shit about his content, but at the same time, I myself see someone who's clearly mentally unwell, um, really having a ton of people go at him. And I I guess it's not really a good argument to say it's not nice. That's not an argument to be made because
No, no,
there
no.
are
It's
genuine,
like, I mean, if I saw a guy getting the shit kicked out of them at the side of the road by 5 police officers, I'd probably look at that and go, oh, that doesn't seem very nice. But then if it
yeah,
transpired that they'd done something terrible and had resisted arrest or something, that information may make me
it's
recontextualize it or
context.
something.
It definitely is, and that's something that you know again on the human level, I
Mm.
wasn't, or more so on the social level, um, I wasn't really too aware of. It definitely was
Sure.
was shocking.
And there's there's
Um,
there's one other element that's really important that someone in chat just brought up that I'd forgotten. So thank you, Shelby, for bringing this up. But I
okay,
think it's worth putting to you as well. Are you familiar with Tipster?
I I know the name. People, someone told me he was a lolcow. I don't really know who he is.
Okay. Long story
He's a
short,
right.
he used to be someone that was like involved with the community, and due to a number of controversies, ended up deciding the community was too toxic and leaving.
Hmm.
Now, one reason that I think people have gone so hard at Bo Blacks, one aspect of it, is that when this happened, again, lots of drama to look at here, but fundamentally, simply, he started doing what he called bully streams against Tipster. And so he would fire up a
Oh, really?
stream and he would watch
Huh.
Tipster's content and find any angle to like go at him, call him a loser, call him a freak, have a go at his. There's times at which he would have a go at his very identity and, you know, talk about his move towards the pro LGBT side, despite ended up being non-binary himself. So I think that
Right.
people looked at that and thought, well, hang on a sec, he's like made hay while the sun shines, bullying this Tipster guy, and now the pressure's on him and he's kind of folding like a blanket. And I think that
Yeah,
hypocrisy, I think, also has fueled this reaction to what Bo Blacks has done personally.
that makes sense. Yeah, that definitely checks out because that is.
Yeah.
I
I mean,
would,
a better example than the police officer example, you see a kid at a
sure.
playground getting beaten up by the other kids, and you think, oh, that looks
Right.
bad. But then it turns out that kid has been going around making life hell for another kid and bullying him. And so
Right.
you might still think, oh, that looks rough, but you can at least understand why that is happening, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I understand completely what you're saying. Um, I suppose, but I mean, and this might not be a great argument, but at least just from the emotional side, um, doesn't it kind of, at least to me, someone who is like on the spectrum and clearly has a lot of mental issues, uh, I feel as though not that they should be given more of an out, not at all. I think that that doesn't excuse you from anything, but at the same time, like they wouldn't have the same sort of I don't know, perhaps, and I could be completely mistaken, but just from what it seems like, from what I'm hearing now, it just seems like the actions of a mentally unwell man.
Mm.
Um, and again, I could be wrong, but
No. I mean, I would agree with that assessment. I do think this is the product of someone being very mentally unwell. And I think the fundamental issue with that, though, is that he's been given so much leeway for so long by his friends
right,
for this mental
right.
illness. Multiple dramas where he's like done things which, in all honesty, may have destroyed another creator, but their friends are giving them benefit of the doubt. I think it just
Hmm.
reached a point. It's like the straw that broke the camel's back, essentially,
Right,
for
right.
people like Nicholas at least. Um,
I
but
see what you mean. Yeah, but you can at least somewhat understand my position
So the
as
thing that I understand from where you're coming from is that without no, like I understand looking at it being horrified and being like, oh my god, this person was their friend and now they're getting turned on and stuff. And
yeah,
you may even still feel horrified with it, knowing all the context. But I just think the context is crucial to understand at least, why it's happening. But
certainly. Yeah, I think the context definitely helps a lot. Um, but
and also
and
I feel like you've got some sort of like aspect where you're bothered by some mentally ill dude that's a public figure that's a YouTuber getting dogpiled by people. I just don't really share that personally.
sure.
I'm like, if you don't want the heat, then don't go onto the platform or make nicey content. And you know what I mean? I just don't.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. I just feel as though it's not like in a lolcow way, but it's like I feel like there's a level of it was someone like him especially who's getting himself into trouble and stuff like that. I don't think that people should just be like, oh, whatever, he's fine, like they've been doing. I really don't. Um, but I also feel as though just for people who are neurodivergent and making these sort of decisions, um, there should be some slight level of empathy, especially because he's having like mental breakdowns all the time. But that, again, that's just me. I think that I completely do. I understand your point, and I do think he should be criticized, and I do think he should be um, ostracized. Honestly, I'm not.
What it sounds
I don't
like
think.
is there's a little autistic lad getting bullied, and you're thinking, what if that was me? That's what it sounds like to me.
I mean, to an extent, but I think it's just more of the level of like empathy for the situation.
Okay. Yeah, sure. And look, obviously I've said my piece about it, but I can totally understand someone from the outside looking in and having a different perspective, right? It's understandable. I've got this to play to you.
Sure.
I've just gone and looked and scanned through, and I think this is hopefully going to clarify this aspect of the lyrics thing. Okay, so
Gotcha.
I'm just going to go ahead and share this screen here. Let me just grab it quickly. Um, Wait.
Oh, should I check the stream or?
No, it's fine. I can't for some reason it's not throwing up. I don't know what's going on here, but oh, here we go. I've got it now. Sorry. Here we go. Right. There we go. So this is the clip I think which has got the relevant point in. So if we just go ahead and watch this quickly.
Sure. Confusing, but just stick with me. Drama commentary channels often upload on a near daily basis, covering the topical news in online culture. They almost never cover anything other than controversy and scandal, though, since mass audiences don't seem to care for stories regarding anything positive, right? These channels are often in a mad dash to be the first to cover something topical, whether or not their information is correct, and also whether or not there's actually any additional information. They'll still cover the same topic over and over and over and over.
So yeah, my understanding of this then is at the tail end of that you say whether or not their information is correct, and you've
Right.
got Lyric's channel on the screen. You can understand how people may interpret that as you talking about Lyrics, right?
Yeah. No, I definitely see that. That wasn't the intent because I'm speaking very broadly. And really I'm just displaying a bunch of channels that fit into the many, and honestly that's
Seems
like
a bit sloppy from where I'm sitting, I must say.
I would agree with that. So that's what I was going to say. That's the point that you made at the start that I feel rings very true. Yeah, no, it's to that point, where it wasn't like a conscious, like, oh, this guy makes dishonest content. It's just kind of, I saw his channel, I saw what he did, and I felt as though it fit into the overall narrative, and visually the thumbnails also fit for what I was talking about. So I included it as footage, not as a
Did you
directed.
do any research on the channel in full or in any depth to make sure that it kind of fit within the criteria you were putting out though?
On lyrics,
Yeah.
I watched some of the videos, and I feel as though format wise it fit.
See, okay, I mean, this gets down to the fundamental problem, is it could be formatted as a slot video, but who cares about that? Surely the lying and the misinformation and the getting stuff wrong should be the focus there, I would have thought.
Certainly, yeah, yeah, and that's, again, if I were to do it differently, that's the point that would be made, wider than just formatting in general. But what was shown, and one of the main arguments, for better or for worse, was about the format of the content, the way that it's presented, and the what's it called? I don't know.
Yeah,
The
just for me, this. I mean, look, this is the problem. Is you're casting this wide net, and it's like, okay, these 10 channels are slop. Okay, fine. But if 8 of those channels put out correct information, who cares if it's in a slop format? It's the 2 channels that are pumping out the lies and misinformation. They're the ones that should be of concern, I would have thought. And it's
Yeah,
this broad focus that's fucked you over.
definitely very hard. Um, and it's yeah, it's was a bad decision. I don't really have anything to
Yeah,
defend
sure.
that
I
because
mean, that's fine. I don't want to like own you
no,
repeatedly or something. Right? I'm just trying to be like reasonable about this, but I guess it is just frustrating that you've gone so hard on these slop channels, and then you've made sloppy decisions yourself, which has lessened your video. It's like
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't want to be a hypocrisy hunter, but it is kind of wild. You didn't do any research for these interviews. It's edited in a way that gives the impression that Lyrics is you're categorizing as a channel that gets stuff wrong regularly.
hmm
Yeah, it's not good. But
yeah, no, certainly. I yeah, and that's honestly, like, I feel as though I'm in kind of a weird space right now. Going back to just taking, privating and making a post talking about why and the things that I got wrong. Um, because honestly, I don't want to misrepresent. That's not my intention. And honestly, I feel bad about it. So I just, I think, as cowardly as that may seem, for myself, it feels like the more
okay.
honorable thing to do.
I'm going to say something chat's not going to like because they all hate you apparently, okay? But you are stuck between a rock and a hard place. You either
Definitely.
double down and fight this on, and then you're wrong. Even from your perspective, you're wrong, and you're just fighting for the sake of fighting.
Yeah.
Or you back down, you say you got it wrong, you get rid of the video, you private the video, you do an update, which I think is the right thing to do, by the way. But people will say you're a weak pussy coward. And it's like,
Yeah.
well, what can you do? Like, you can't put the two bits back in the tube. I think
Yeah.
that, do as you wish with the video. Obviously, I don't want to suck anything about that. It's up to you what you do. But I think, issuing out a correction or statement on it is probably a good idea, regardless whatever you choose to do. I think that's probably
Yeah.
fair.
No, I thank you for understanding my viewpoint. I feel as though a lot of people are going to be kind of uncharitable about it, but ultimately, you're right. It's a really tricky spot to be in. And as someone who doesn't want to misrepresent and doesn't want to you know make people feel misrepresented or hurt in any way, I think it really is kind of the way to go. And people will have their problems with that, but ultimately, it's just kind of it, isn't it?
Yeah, the other thing I am sympathetic to is having had disagreements with like bigger YouTubers and feeling like I'm right about it very strongly. I know what it's like to get this flood of people in your comments to tell you what a fucking loser you are and how wrong you are.
Dude,
Right.
crazy. I'm a little shell shocked right now.
But the point is like from my perspective, I'm thinking, well, you just can never let that guide you. It's always got to be from within you, your
Yeah.
perspective on it, your thoughts, not a bunch of people are saying I'm wrong. It's no, I've thought about it and listened to the worthy criticism, and this is what I think is the correct thing, right?
Yeah, that's what I think. That's how I feel I'm doing this, because there's a lot of criticism that I've gotten that I do heavily disagree with,
Mm.
and that's not the reason why I'm making this decision. It's because there's a lot of really good criticism, and there are a lot of mistakes that I have made, and I've been able to have this conversation with you, and I think it's been really productive, and I want to thank you for that. But ultimately, people can call it a cop out, people can call it me being a pussy, but I feel it's the most respectable thing to do. Because fighting for nothing, just I truly do not see the point.
Okay. Okay. So, I mean, Lyric's in chat. I mean, he's saying that, you must say that. My understanding is you are seriously considering taking down the video. I mean, I don't know what your decision is. I'm not pressing you for one, but it seems like
Yeah,
that seems to be your thought process so far.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And I mean, is what you said, lyrics is in chat.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I just want to say that I apologize for you know having your channel up in that moment as it as a visual misrepresents it. And I don't want that to be something that people gain. And I understand that it is, and that's a mistake that I've made. But I'm apologizing. I'm gonna you know just I'll make my decision, and I am pretty sure I will just do what
Yeah,
I got to do.
it's very. Yeah, I don't want to like be. You must decide now. It's obviously up to you, and I think it's
No,
better to
yeah,
go and make the right call for your own sake. But I think that's been quite a good convo all in all.
no, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Is there anything else you want to discuss or bring up or talk about before we end it?
Sure. Yeah, there's something I wanted to say. I mean, but does Chad have any more pressing questions or?
Okay. I feel like I need to say as well, don't be racist. Although that's probably the lyrics chatters, to be honest, if it's anyone. But yeah, guys, if you've got any more questions for the next 5 minutes, just throw them up now quickly.
I didn't jump the wall, and I'm not Mexican. Let's be clear here. I love Mexicans, but I'm a Boricua and a Cuban, right? But
Oh,
say
so
what you
your
will.
background's in Cuba, is that right?
Yeah, Cuban and
Okay.
Puerto Rico.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, I do have a very mixed audience. Some are very right wing, some are racist, but um, I'm sure it won't be a problem. Okay.
Nah.
In regards to the Trauma Elsa videos, do you think alleged kink stuff that's put into broadcasted cartoons has done more damage than the kink slop found in Elsagate?
That's actually a really interesting question. I guess for some context, a lot of what I've done has been talking about and kind of doing deep dives into the sort of rings that exploit children on YouTube, and I it's kind of like a series of mine, and I have a lot of opinions on this. I think that's actually a good question because a lot of the time when you see people talking about that sort of thing, where like a cartoon led them to have some sort of fetish, it comes from something that was broadcast. It doesn't come from like not all the time, obviously, but it usually will come from something that's broadcast on TV. Like I know that show Totally Spies had like a bunch of fetish bait people say in it, and a lot of shows from like the 90s and stuff had some kind of freaky scenes and themes and stuff like that. But my thing is that I think it's too early to tell, since the people who grew up with Elsagate content aren't really old enough. Like, no, obviously some of them are, but overall it was like toddlers in 2017 who are still like preteens now, and they may not have realized these things have impacted them, and they may not have come with the capacity to come out and express that as much as people who grew up in the 90s and 2000s have. um that's what I think. I think we will see going forward. But yeah, that's a good question.
Um, okay, question here. Why do you put so much emphasis on the amount of time spent making videos rather than worrying about the validity or accuracy? What's the reason you're focused on this time, the editing timeline? Time spent seems to be important to you. Why is that?
I think it's a reflection of effort, and care as well, especially if someone is self-edited. I personally, at least, it's coming from my perspective. I do put a lot of time and a lot of work into the videos that I produce, and I feel as though there's a lot of value in that. And like I said in the video, there is a level of jealousy when someone has like a very very simply made kind of lazy video, and they might not even be getting things right, and they are far surpassing your work that passion projects that have months and thousands of dollars put into them. um that's my perspective on it. It's reflective of passion, and it does depend on the video, but at least for myself.
Yeah, no, I mean this. Yeah, I can get that. I mean, it's the same argument as to why some people make these lengthy videos, and then a streamer watches them and grunts halfway through, and then that's it. And
Right,
like
right,
they feel a
exactly.
bit put out by that, which I do understand. I always try and add something to the videos I watch, but
Yeah, no, you added a lot. You made an impact on the video itself, so
okay, well,
that's pretty big. I think that's as transformative as you can get, right?
okay, look, okay. I'm British, okay? We normally are very self-deprecating people, so hearing all this praise is very difficult for me. But but yeah, no,
I'm not trying
sure.
to
I mean,
listen. I'm not trying to like suck up.
no,
It's
I know. It's
this
just
is
listen. It's all good, okay? Thank you for the feedback. I appreciate it, okay? Okay. Not trying to say you're glazing. I think
I'm not
that's.
glazing, chat. Come on now.
I think in response to your last comment, it's like, yeah, I do see that, and I guess it's like, it's like work smarter, not harder. Maybe is some aspect there, because you can spend hours digging a big hole, but if no one needs a big hole to be a big hole, then it's a wasted opportunity. It kind of gets
Yeah.
into like the lefty perspective and like the value of labor and what is that and so on. It gets a bit complicated with all the different political takes. But yeah,
Hmm.
I just guess that it's like, for me, I would value a slop 8 minutes video that is correct and accurate versus a 2 hour video that's had all this time put into it, but substantive details are factually wrong. You know?
Right. I understand. Yeah. Yeah. It's. I suppose it's also what the kind of content is, and
Mm.
the value that you find from content as well. I think is a very good sort of distinguisher. Um, Whereas, like, again, I this is my first time ever getting into like any sort of drama, because most of my stuff is just passion projects and things that I feel. My philosophy personally is that if I want to see a video and it doesn't exist yet, I make it.
Mm.
A lot of the things are just things that I want to see happen, and something that I want to share, whether it's something I'm passionate about or something that worries me. And that's the perspective that I come from it with.
There
So
is an
that's where I
important
get that.
there is an important detail with that though. How reliant
Sure.
are you on YouTube for your income?
Pretty much fully. Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. It's just that
No, it's
sometimes people have got
well, not pretty
passion
much. It is
projects.
fully. I have a seasonal job sometimes, but that's just for Halloween. Yeah, it's
No, no,
fully
no, no,
YouTube.
sure. Because sometimes people are like, the artiste, the struggling artiste, but like they got another job or something. But you are fully reliant
Yeah,
on the
no, that's
YouTube
not what's
income.
going on here. And granted, I get decent reception. It's just a very constant cycle of a lot of work and effort put in. And with
Yeah,
YouTube, you never
sure.
know if something you put thousands of bucks into and a month is just gonna flop and make you like 400 bucks. So it's kind of just that process.
Yeah, sure. But I would presume that if you put out multiple videos that what you really wanted to do and you had subsequent failures, you probably have to take it in a different direction, maybe in a direction you didn't
Definitely,
want to take it,
definitely.
right?
Yeah, yeah. I'm very lucky to have people who are interested in the things that I'm interested about, and
Mm.
want to hear me talk about whatever the hell I want to talk about. I'm very gifted to have that position. Um, but when it takes a long time to produce these projects, it's still in terms of like as a job, and it's the career I've chosen. I'm sticking to it, right? I'm sticking to doing long form because it's what I want to do. It's what I want to see. It's what my sort of passion is. But there is definitely a level of kind of reliance, and it can be somewhat devastating if something flops after all the commitment. So that's kind of why I value passion, and I think passion is also a big part of it too. But
Yeah.
effort put in.
What would you do if all of a sudden tomorrow something happened and YouTube stopped paying you and Patreon stopped paying you? Would you still make
Oh,
videos or would you go and find something else to do?
yeah, I totally would. I would still make videos, but I'd get another job. I'd do
Yeah.
videos as like a fun side
A
project because
side
there's still
project, yeah.
things that I want to say. Like you're saying, YouTube's still up and a thing, but I don't get paid anymore, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, I think I would definitely continue. By no means is this a grift. I've been making YouTube videos since I was 8 years old. In fact, that the channel that the video's on is from 2013. Like I've been, it's just been my passion since I was a little kid, and I've been gifted and so lucky to have an audience that actually wants to see what I make now. So I would still make videos. It just would have to supplement income is the thing.
Yeah, no, That's good. Yeah. I mean, to be honest with you, I'm kind of questions seem to have dried up in chat. Um, One question for me: do you stream at all yourself?
I not really. No, I've
Hmm.
done like two or three.
No, it's just as on a personal level, slop creator to whatever you want to call yourself. I think streaming is a really good revenue stream, and any creator should be dipping their
Really?
toes in it at least once a week. Oh yeah, you could
Okay.
probably, if you got a committed enough audience, you can probably pull a few hundred people and get some super chats, I'd imagine.
Let's no. Yeah, I'm doing a Halloween costume stream because I'm dressing up
Okay.
as a hell, so I'm gonna stream in the armor, which is gonna be really fun. But yeah, that's kind of the only thing I've got planned. But that's good advice. That's good to know.
Okay. Well, anyway, I think that's all the questions I've got. I don't think I've got anything else. Is there anything else you want to say, or can we wrap this up now?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, closing statement. I know there's a lot of people in chat who
They're not very
aren't too happy.
forgiving. They're not. Let's just say they've got
No,
their mind
and
made
that's
up.
fine.
Okay.
I don't expect them to be. But I I don't know. I just want to say I'm not trying to go out and be malicious. I've definitely learned a valuable lesson from all of this, and I think I want to make that clear. Um, and yeah, that's pretty much it. If you'll find it in your heart to not be that mad, that would be appreciated. But hey, listen, if that's not gonna happen, that's all good.
Okay. Well, listen. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah,
Good sport. Obviously, chat was quite vicious. Good job for not checking it. Good conversation, and all the best for the future. Okay.
now I'm gonna look at the recording and look at all the chat and cry.
Okay, dude.
Okay,
Don't do that. Okay. Just go about your day. Do what you want to do. Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Catch you later.
All right, have a good one. Thank you very
Cheers.
much.
Bye bye. I mean,